Hi, it's Tash. Welcome to Tash's Library. Today's video is going to be my TBR, my to be read list for the R Fantasy bingo board for 2025. If you're unaware of what this is, R Fantasy has a thread where they create a bingo board with 25 different prompts, and you need to complete those prompts between the 1st of April of 2025 and then complete it by the end of March in 2026. This board feels a little bit hard this year. It's taken me a while to try and work it out. For some of them, I have a few options. Now, I'm generally going to try for hard mode. So basically you can go regular mode prompt, or you can stretch yourself and meet a little bit of an additional tweak to the prompt to achieve hard mode. So I'm going to try for those, but there's going to be a few I probably won't achieve hard mode for. There's also hero mode, which is where you review every book that you've read. And I'll probably get that because I am reviewing all my books on Goodreads this year, and I will also review them on this channel. So I should cover that. But let's begin. Let's look at the board and what I'm thinking of choosing. So the first square is Knights and Paladins. So this is one of the protagonists is a knight or paladin. And for hard mode, it's a character who has an oath or promise to keep. So for this one, I sort of have two options, but I'm leaning most towards Oathbringer by Brandon Sanderson. I do want to continue and hopefully finish the Stormlight Archive this year, so that is an obvious choice for me. Now, I'm not sure if there's oaths in Oathbringer, so I'm not sure if it's going to achieve hard mode. Let me know if it does. But basically, it's a series I'm really enjoying. It's the third book in the series, following the escapades of different characters in the land of Roshar, which is ravaged by storms and war. If I don't read this, my other two options are The Daughter's War by Christopher Buehlman, which is a prequel to The Black Tongue Thief, which I quite enjoyed. And I do plan to read this book at some point. Also Paladin's Grace by T. Kingfisher. It's a backup option, but I don't yet own it. So I don't like to buy books specifically for challenges. I really do have quite a backlog of books that I own that I really want to get through. So I'm going to prioritize those. The second square is Hidden Gem, a book with under 1,000 ratings on Goodreads, and new releases do not count. For hard mode, it has to have been published more than 5 years ago. For this one, I'm going to read Andorra Pets and the Oort Cloud Cafe by Richard D. And this was published in 2017, so it does meet hard mode. And it only has 107 ratings at this stage. And it follows Andorra Pets with a trusty sidekick who then take over a derelict cafe on a mining station that's orbiting Saturn. So that sounds kind of fun and cozy. Square number 3 is published in the 80s. Read a book that was first published between 1980 and 1989. And hard mode is written by an author of color. So I've had a lot of trouble with this square because there's a lot of books I want to read from the 1980s, but hard mode was stumping me a little bit. I know the obvious choice would be Octavia Butler, but they sound a bit dark and too apocalyptic for my tastes. I really don't like sort of those post-apocalyptic or dystopian type books. So I'm kind of not certain I want to go there. I also did consider Samuel Delany, but I really didn't enjoy Babel 17, which I read last year. So I'm wary of reading any of his others at this stage. But what I am going for is Kiki's Delivery Service by Aiko Kodono, which was first published in 1985, and this is a children's book about a witch and her cat, and sounds fabulous. So I think I should achieve hard mode on that one. Number 4 is High Fashion. This is a book where clothing or fashion or fiber arts are important to the plot. This can be a crafty main character or a setting where fashion itself is explored. And hard mode, it's the main character who makes the clothes or fibers. For this one, I'm going to go with Spin at the Dawn by Elizabeth Lim. And I believe this is hard mode because it follows a competition in which a tailor has to make dresses in disguise or something like that. Like, that's what I've seen it's about. So I'm thinking I'm going to definitely do that one. Technically, I could also read 10,000 Stitches by Olivia Atwater, because I did read the first book in that series last year. However, I don't own 10,000 Stitches yet, and I do own Spin the Dawn. So that's sort of where I'm leaning at this stage. The final square on that row is Down with the System. So a book in which a main plot revolves around disrupting a system, and for hard mode, it can't be a governmental system. There's a few, I think, here, but I'm uncertain as to whether they meet hard mode or not. I feel like the synopses won't tell you. So I believe The Library at Mount Char might. Also The Book That Wouldn't Burn by Mark Lawrence. But I think the one I'm actually going to put in the square at this stage is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern, where you have a strange book hidden in a university library, which leads to a quest. And apparently there's a fight against the shadowy organization. So please put in the comments if you think this meets hard mode. Number 6, Impossible Places, a book set in a location that would break a physicist. For hard mode, it's at least 50% of the book taking place in this impossible place. Now, I immediately thought, oh no, I read The City in the City by China Miéville last year, which would fit this prompt perfectly. So if you're looking for a book to read, this is a good one to choose. So I think for this one, I'm going to read Ascension by Nicholas Binge, and I believe that would meet hard mode. It's described as a mind-bending speculative thriller in which a sudden appearance of a mountain in the middle of the Pacific Ocean leads to a group of scientists to a series of revelations. And I believe it's a bit quirky, the place, and astounding scientifically. So I think it meets hard mode, but we shall see. A book in parts, and this is a book that is separated into large sections within the main text, and this can be acts, parts, days, years, etc. And for hard mode, it has to have 4 or more parts. For this, I'm probably going to read The Rise and Fall of Dodo by Neil Stephenson. I'm dying to get back to some Neil Stephenson because Snow Crash is my all-time favorite sci-fi novel at this point, and so I definitely need to read more of his books. This has science, magic, time travel, Department of Diachronic Operations, which is Dodo, and it's got 5 parts, so it meets hard mode. If I don't get to that for some reason though, I do have The Scar by China Miéville, which is the sequel to Perdido Street Station, which I read a couple of years ago, so I probably should get onto that as well. All right, Gods and Monsters, a book featuring divine beings, and for hard mode, there are multiple pantheons involved. For this, I'm going to read Hammered by Kevin Hearn, which is part of the Iron Druid series. Now, I know that a couple of the other books have had multiple pantheons represented. I believe Hammered is about Norse gods, and I'm just really hoping there'll be other gods emerging at some point in this book, but it will meet regular mode in any case. Last in a series, the final entry in a series, and for hard mode, the series has to be 4 or more books long. For this, the only option I have, which is an excellent option because it's a book I really want to read, is The Rise of Endymion by Dan Simmons, and this is the 4th book in the Hyperion Cantos series. I'm really looking forward to this. The series starts with all these pilgrims trying to visit these time tombs that are occupied by this deadly shrike, and then they tell all their stories a la Canterbury Tales. It then escalates into some epic story, and I cannot wait for the finale. Number 10 is a book club or read-along book, a book that was or is officially a group read on Our Fantasy. Now, I would usually swap this square out because I don't like participating in book clubs, but there's another square I want to swap out this year. So I'm going to keep this one at this point. And I probably won't get to hard mode, because hard mode is you participate during the bingo year. And so you're reading a book that's currently being discussed and you participate in that discussion. I don't know if I'm going to do that because I plan my TBR ahead of time. And I also am not massively into discussions online. So I don't think I'll hit hard mode for this one. But I had a quick look at the list, and I think the one I'm going to put in for the square is Blood in the Mist by Hope Mirrlees, which is a classic fantasy that was first published in 1926. And this looks kind of fun, and I've heard really good things about it. And it's a book that I've had on my TBR for quite some time, so I should get to that one. All right, so the next row there starts with Parents Protagonists, a book where a main character has a child to care for, and the child does not have to be biologically related to the character. And for hard mode, the child is also a character in the story, a major character in the story. This is tricky. I don't love books about parents. I try and avoid them, actually. And it's very hard as well to know if the child's going to be a character in the story. So at this stage, I'm sort of oscillating between two options. I might continue the Witcher series, because Geralt the Witcher is responsible for Ciri as almost like an adopted daughter. So that could fulfill at least regular mode. But the next book I have to read is Baptism of Fire, and I'm uncertain if Ciri's playing a role in that as a character at all. So that would just be up to luck. The other one I probably will just put into the square for now is The Obelisk Gate by N.K. Jemisin. And this is the second book in the Broken Earth trilogy, where a mother seeks her missing daughter. Now, the first book did not feature the daughter at all. I'm hoping the second book does, but I'm uncertain. Next square is epistolary, where the book must prominently feature any of the following: diary or journal entries, letters, messages, newspaper clippings, transcripts, etc. And hard mode, the book is told entirely in epistolary format. For this, I'm going to read A Letter from the Lonesome Shore by Sylvie Cafferel. I think this should meet hard mode if it's anything like the first book. The first book, A Letter to the Luminous Deep, is told entirely via letters. And I'm hoping the second one follows suit. But it is a cozy academia set in an underwater world. So it should be quite fun. Published in 2025. This has to have been published for the first time in 2025. And for hard mode is also a debut novel. For this, I'm going to read A Language of Dragons by S.F. Williamson. It is indeed a debut novel, and it's pretty much described as Bletchley Park with dragons, which sounds amazing. So I'm very excited about that one. Author of Colour. For hard mode, it's got to be a horror book. So for this one, I'm thinking I'm going to read Ring Shout by P. Djeli Clark. I absolutely love P. Djeli Clark, and I'm pretty close to finishing all the books he's written so far, including some of his short stories. So the next one, the one I haven't read, is Ring Shout. So it makes sense to get onto that one. And this is set in 1915, where the Ku Klux Klan are actual demons, I believe, and horror elements in there. The last one in the row is self-published or small press, which is pretty self-explanatory. But for hard mode, the book has to have under 100 ratings on Goodreads or be written by a marginalized author. Now, according to Our Fantasy, it seems as though marginalized could also include a female author, which is where I'm going to go with this. And I'm going to read Miss Percy's Pocket Guide to the Care and Feeding of British Dragons by Quenby Olson. And so that would fit hard mode, I'm guessing. And this is where Miss Percy inherits a dragon. I believe this maybe won the previous Spiffbo. I'm not sure, but it's definitely self-published and a female author. Biopunk is interesting. So it's a book that focuses on biotechnology and or its consequences. And for hard mode, there is no electricity-based technology. Now, I'm not certain exactly what that means. I don't know whether it means that the actual biotechnology can't be reliant on electricity, or whether the entire world doesn't have electricity. I'm uncertain. So I do have two options for this one, both of which I really want to read, so it's okay. First one is Bee Speaker by Adrian Tchaikovsky. This is the third installment of the Dogs of War series, which features the genetically engineered bioforms. So, but it would definitely have electricity in the world. So I'm not sure. Otherwise, I'm going to read The Island of Dr. Moreau by H.G. Wells. I mean, this is the origin of biopunk, right? So I think it would also fit hard mode because I'm pretty certain it wouldn't have electricity, but I can't be certain. But it's a short book. I want to read it, and I'll see what happens. If I only get regular mode, so be it. Elves and Dwarves, a book that features the classical fantasy archetypes of elves and or dwarves, and they do not have to fit the classic tropes, but must be either named elves or dwarves. And hard mode is the main character is an elf or dwarf. This is really easy for me because I want to continue the Legend of Drizzt series, and the main character in that is a dark elf. If you haven't read the Legend of Drizzt, if you go back to the first trilogy in that, which is Homeland, this is all just dark elves. So yes, go read it. It's amazing. It's so beautifully written, and Drizzt is a fascinating character. LGBTQIA protagonist. This is where the main character is under this umbrella. And for hard mode, the character's marginalized on at least one additional axis. So for this, I'm going to read Foundry Side by Robert Jackson Bennett, which is fantasy cyberpunk with a heist. And this fits hard mode. Foundry Side is the reason why I can't put a drop of corruption in for biopunk, which is the most obvious choice, and it's the book I'm most anticipating to read. But I also really want to read Foundry Side, so that's where I'm going to use this, because the rules are you can't repeat an author on more than one square. All right, 5 short stories is any short SFF story, as long as there are 5 of them. For hard mode, you read an entire collection or anthology. And I'm going to read Time is the Fire, which are a series of short stories by Connie Willis. And I'm going to read the entire thing. I love Connie Willis, and I'm really looking forward to delving more into her short stories. Final one that row is Stranger in a Strange Land. This is where a book that deals with being a foreigner in a new culture, and the characters must be either visiting or moving in as a minority. Hard mode, it's the main character that is the immigrant or refugee. For this, I believe the Golem and the Genie would fit hard mode. This is following 2 newcomers onto the streets of New York, and the Golem and the Genie, and they are definitely strangers, not only to New York, but strangers to the world. So I think that would fit because they'd be marginalized immigrants. If not, I might look at also Chaos Terminal by Muir Lafferty, which is the second book in the series. Station Eternity would definitely fit hard mode, I reckon, because you have someone who's become a refugee from Earth and is now living on a sentient space station, and she's the only human being on that station. So that would fit. And I think from the synopsis, the second book should be able to fit at least regular mode. But we'll see. I think Golem and the Genie is the one that's going to go onto the board at this stage. For Recycle a Bingo Square, this is using a square from a previous year. I've gone back to 2024, and I'm going to go with my favorite square of 2024, which was published in the 1990s. And for hard mode, the author has published something in the last 5 years. I have 2 options for this. Mistress of the Empire by Raymond E. Weiss and Janie Wirtz. This was published in 1992, and both authors have published a book released in 2024. So that would be fine for hard mode. The second one, which is probably the one I'm going to put on the board for now, because I'm super keen to continue this series, because the last book ended on a bit of a cliffhanger, and that is The Druid of Shannara by Terry Brooks. This was published in 1991, and it's a traditional fantasy quest story, which are my all-time favorites. And Terry Brooks has actually just had a book out in March 2025. So that fits hard mode. All right, then cozy SFF. Up to your preferences to what you find comforting, but the genre typically features relatable characters, low stakes, minimal conflict, and a happy ending. My favorites. And hard mode, the author is new to you. So I had a few options for this one. I was thinking of The Phoenix Keeper by S.A. McLean, which is about a zoo for extraordinary creatures, which sounded pretty cool. But I think I'm going to go with The Cat Who Saved Books. And this is about a talking cat and a grieving boy who go on magical adventures to save books. This fits hard mode. I've never read anything by the author before, and I'm currently reading that for my TBR in April, so it makes sense to put that on the board so I can tick one off straight away. Generic title. This is a book that has one or more of the following words in the title: blood, bone, broken, court, dark, shadow, song, sword, or throne. And hard mode is the title contains more than one of the words or contains at least one of the words and a color, number, or animal. For this, I'm considering maybe Blood Song by Anthony Ryan, which would fit hard mode because blood and song are on the list. Or the one that I'm probably going to put on the board for now is Shadow of the Fox by Julie Kagawa, which has legends, shapeshifters, samurai, demons. So it's all Japanese mythology, which sounds amazing. And this would also be hard mode because it has the word shadow and it has an animal in the title. Second last square is not a book. And this is the one I am replacing because you're allowed to replace one prompt. The reason I'm replacing this is I don't enjoy watching movies. I can't remember the last movie I watched. And I do watch some TV shows, but I can't guarantee I'm going to get to any. I think I might be looking at watching the Murderbot series when that comes out. But once again, I do fancy bingo for the books. And so I actually really want a book on here. And I have replaced this with a 2020 prompt, color in the title. And for hard mode, it's not black, red, gray, or white. So color in the title is a fun prompt, so I thought that would be cool. And for this one, I'm going to put in The Amber Spyglass by Philip Pullman because it's the third book in his Dark Materials series. And I am planning to read it in April, so that could be another one ticked off. Amber, I'm guessing, could be considered a color. If I don't read this, which I'm pretty certain I will, I also have Silver Nitrates by Silvia Moreno Garcia, which I really, really want to read because it's all about horror movies and occultism. And to be honest, Silvia Moreno Garcia is just a joy to read. And the final square is Pirates, a book where characters engage in piracy. And for hard mode, it's not a seafaring pirates. All right, I have 3 possibilities for this one, and I'm pretty torn. I'm very, very torn between them. The first one is The Arm of the Sphinx by Josiah Bancroft. And this is the second book in the Books of Babel series. And there are indeed pirates that are not seafaring in this one, I believe. So it would meet hard mode. I also have Retribution Falls by Chris Wooding. And this is a group of space pirates who run contraband, rob ships, etc. And this is kind of described as being a little bit like Firefly and would definitely fit hard mode because they're space pirates. But the one I'm going to put on the square for now is another space pirate one called Revenger by Alistair Reynolds. I love Alistair Reynolds. Like, he's super, super hard sci-fi generally, and which is my favorite. So I'm kind of looking forward to this one. It's a science fiction adventure story with space pirates, buried treasure, phantom weapons, unspeakable hazards, and single-minded heroism. And sounds fun, but there's actually quite a good chance I'm going to read a few of those. And that's it. That's my bingo board. Now, if it's anything like last year, I will read half of these books and replace half the squares of other books. But it's okay because at least I have a plan. And if I come across other great books, fabulous. But anyway, thank you for watching. If you do have any suggestions, or if you know if any of those books do or don't fill hard mode, please let me know. And until I see you next time, take care.